Blender for Noobs.
Hello, this is Dan Nobles, and welcome to Blender for Noobs, and welcome back to our series of character creation. This is part 2. In part 2 here, we're going to be creating clothes for our character using the Make Clothes tool that we downloaded and set up in part 1. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Very important, the Make Clothes does not work with the Cycles render engine. That is not to say that you can't put them on your character and render your character in Cycles. You can, but to use the actual tool, you cannot have the Cycles render engine running. You have to have the Blender render engine. So I'm going to turn that on there. So as long as you follow the instructions in part 1 where you set up the Blender tools, you should be good to go. And if you choose in on your keyboard, then you will come down here, scroll down, and you will see the Make Clothes version here that we need. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to look at our base mesh. So click on that, and you will see a number of humans that you can choose from, or different base meshes that you can choose from. If you hear something in the background that sounds strange, it's my cat chewing on a plastic bag. He likes to chew on plastic bags. Probably not good for him, but anyway. Depending on what you're doing, what kind of clothes you're making is what mesh you will choose. In my case, I'm going to do a male character, so I'm going to choose average male with helpers. So click on that and load human mesh. And after a few seconds, you will see this strange creature appear on your screen. So let me move these windows down a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. So basically what this is it gives you the option of, shirt, skirt, tights, hair, eye stuff. I mean, it gives you a lot of options here. Pretty much all I have used on making clothes is I use the base mesh with the tights, and that kind of gives me an option to make shirts and everything, but I'll show you how that works. So the important thing to realize here is this base mesh that you get, you do not want to change this in any way whatsoever. It's going to use this in order to make your clothes. So what you need to do is you need to copy this. And if we look under our, if you look under your outliner, if you don't have outliner, you can pull it up here, but you will see human is selected, and that's what we want to select. So I'm going to choose a Shift D to duplicate and click on that. And when I click on that, you will see that I've created a human.001. This is just an exact duplicate of our base mesh. So while I have that selected, I am going to move it to a different layer. So I'm going to choose M on the keyboard, and I'm going to move it over right next to it in layer 2 right here. Okay, so that way we keep this layer intact, which if we select it, this is our main human mesh. And we're going to do all our prep work, or our work for our clothes, in this one. This one we can mess up, we can change however we need to. We just don't want to touch the other one. Okay, so now that we have this, and I'm going to select it, and we'll make sure that we're selecting the correct one, I am going to go over to, let's go over to materials, and you will see all these different materials that we have for the clothes. Okay. These materials are just like a default material, so you can tell the difference between these different parts. So in our case, I'm not going to use any of these. If we go down here, we'll see tights. That's really the only material that I'm going to keep there for now, just for reference. So, okay, so now that we're on our working layer here, what we need to do is we need to get rid of all the different materials that we don't want to work with. So in my case, I'm not going to make a skirt for this guy. I'm going to use his tights to make a specific shirt. And Not going to do too much with anything else, but just kind of do that just to show you how this works. So the hair, as you can see, kind of gets in the way. The skirt gets in the way. So let's get rid of those. And the easiest way to do that is we can tab into, let me select this human and tab in edit mode and come over here, and we're going to leave the body because that's kind of a reference. I ain't going to worry about the tongue either. I mean, we can delete the material, but I'm not worried about the tongue being there. Really what I'm worried about is to come down here is I don't need this. So poor guy, I'm sorry, but oops. I'm going to select that and X delete that. Ow! Go to tights, and we're going to use the tights. So leave those. Choose skirt, select the skirt, X delete faces. Okay, in the hair, we are going to select that, X delete faces, and delete the hair. So basically you want to be left with just this so we can work with our clothes here. Now tab back into object mode, and we're not going to be really using any of these other materials. So if you want to, I mean, you can delete all of these eyelashes, all this stuff here, leave the tights, leave the body, and this stuff can go. Okay. All right. So, and we're going to be making our own material too. So we're going to be deleting these as well. But for now, this is what we have. Okay. So notice if you tab into edit mode here, you have everything. So if you're starting to select something, you may accidentally select the body. So one thing that might be easy for you to do here is select the body and choose P to separate it by selection. So you're going to make that a different selection. So that will keep it there as a reference so you can see the body, but it won't allow you to select it while you're making your clothes. Okay, so now we can start making our clothes. And we're going to do that using these tights. So here is something you have to remember when you're making the clothes. You will notice when you look at these clothes, they are all quad faces, meaning, of course, that they have 4 sides. You must have only quads when you are making your clothes. So just keep that in mind, and I'll show you how that comes into play here in a second. But first, one thing we need to do is we need to come over to our object data here, and we need to go down to Vertex Groups, and we're going to delete all these Vertex Groups because we're going to recreate these. So I'm just going to delete all of these, and don't worry, that's going to be created kind of automatically, so we should be all right, hopefully. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this guy have like, instead of this long sleeve shirt, I'm going to make him have a t-shirt. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to alt select right in the middle here. So I'll select this entire ring of faces here and then choose Control plus. And when you do that, hit the plus button on your key, on your numpad, Control plus. You can just select all these faces right up to here until you figure, you know, where you want your t-shirt to end. So I'm going to choose X delete faces. So come over here, I'm going to do the same thing. Alt select this, Control plus sign, come all the way up here. Where did I stop? One more, I think. Okay, X delete faces. And voila, we have a t-shirt. Okay, so this is a very basic, going to be a very basic t-shirt, but say we wanted to do something a little bit more. Well, we can come over here. I'm going to alt select this. I think this is maybe a little bit high or something, and I can say delete those faces. I can choose vertex select here, and I can choose these vertices, shift select these, and choose V to separate them. Okay. And once I have them separated, I can choose GG, and I'm just going to move these vertices back a little bit. And I'm just kind of giving him a V-neck t-shirt. It's kind of a funny looking t-shirt. Just to show you what can be done here. Okay, so now he has a V-neck. And what you can do with the pants, you don't really have to separate the pants. What you can do is you can just make your material, you can create a texture and make that a different color for the pants if you want to. Or if you want to make pants, make those separate as a separate item, what you can do is you can just basically remove what would be the pants here, make his shirt, and then come back and do this whole process and make pants. But for me, I'm just going to leave it as is because I can make, I know I can make this bottom part a different color than the top using a texture. So that will work for what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is a very easy cutaway to make these clothes, but say, what if I want to add something to the clothes? What if I want to make like a belt or something? Well, let's say we want to come up here and for some strange reason you wanted like pieces of material hanging off the edge of the shirt sleeves here. So E-extrude, and I have one there. Maybe I come over here, E-extrude, and do that. Just be sure when you're creating stuff with the clothes, like I said, make sure that they are quads. You don't want any tris or any other polygons that are not four-sided. So I'm going to Control Z undo those two because I don't want them that way. Okay, so, and I'm going to give you an example of how detailed you can get with clothes because I was flabbergasted basically that I needed to create a special uniform for one of my characters, and I thought there is no way Make Clothes is going to allow me to do this, and it did. And I'll show you exactly what that is in a little bit, but first let's go ahead and move forward with this. Okay, so at this point, you have your basic clothes set up, but you need to give your clothes a material. So what I'm going to do is tab back in object mode, come over here to materials, and for the clothes themselves, it doesn't use the body material at all. Hit plus there instead of minus. So I'm going to want to minus the body. So that's just the tights. And actually, I'm going to minus that, delete that. So we're left with this basic, no material. I'm going to choose new, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, new body suit. How about that? Okay, so then what I can do in your normal Blender render options here, you can make your material, something different that you want. Now, of course, he has a, full suit right here. This is just one material. But if you want to, like I said, you can make the pants a different color. What you want to do instead of doing just a simple material like this, one material thing, you can name this whatever, name it like character texture or whatever you want to name it. And then you can go to texture and you can do a new texture and create a texture for this character. Now, I'm not going to get into creating a texture file for this because it gets into unwrapping and all that. And VScorpion C has covered that very well. So if you're curious on how to do that, if you're not familiar with how to create textures in the Blender render engine, then I would suggest watching her tutorials for that. But basically what we've done now is we have this close, but there is a few more things we need to do in order for this to work. Okay, and again, just remember all quads, and also you can only have one material for each piece of clothing that you do. So say if we were making a shirt, we have one material or one texture. If we come back and make pants separately, then one material, one texture. The good thing about textures is what I could do with this is I could say, I have this bodysuit, and I can make a texture and just put different different colors on it. So you can make a different colored shirt, a different colored pants all at one time with the texture feature. Okay, so what we need to do, and this is probably the most important part of this, is you need to go back to your vertex groups. We need vertex groups for this character. So in order to do that, we scroll down back to our make human properties here. You'll see now we have this create vertex. And in order to do that, you want to tab into edit mode, choose A to select all. So you're selecting all your clothes, and come down here and create vertex. So bam, instantly did it. And now you can test these. Tab back into edit mode. I'm going to deselect everything. And so I'm going to choose under my vertex groups, under the object data, vertex groups, I'm going to choose mid, and I'm going to choose select. And you will see this is selecting this kind of a midline. If you see something like that, then everything looks good. Okay, I'm going to deselect that. I'm going to select left, select it here, and you will see that it's selecting the left, side of the person, looking from his view. And that all looks good. And deselect that, and I'm going to select the right, select that, and it selects the other side. Okay, so that it's very important that this is working correctly, because if that's not working correctly, then chances are your clothes are not going to be made correctly, or they're not going to be made at all. So I'm going to deselect that. Okay, so now I am ready to actually make the clothes, or do the processing to have the tools make the clothes. Okay, so what you want to do is tab back into object mode. Okay, remember we split our human here, our human 0.002 apart. This is only for reference, just so you can see how the clothes fit on the human. Has nothing to do with creating the clothes. The important part is your actual clothes, and we go back to this layer, your reference thing that we left here. So in order for this to work, what we need to do is we need to choose this one, which is human. Come over here and choose your clothes, which in my case here is human.001. So I am going to come over here and shift select human. So you'll see in the outliner I have human and human.001 selected. Basically what we want to make sure we're doing is we're selecting the reference material that we don't touch, and we're selecting the clothes that we just made over here. Okay, once you got those two selected, then go back to your make clothes properties here, and you want to click the make clothes button, and it will churn away. Stitch, 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 stitch. It's making your clothes, and when it is done, it will pop up just like this, and it will say error using make human tool, and you'll go, what went wrong? I did everything that he said. So, and it will say operation succeeded, but there were warnings. Author unknown. So the only problem here is there's no author in here. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's fine. Everything went good. I have gotten an error here before that was bad, and it had to do, in my case, what it had to do is it was trying to make the clothes and trying to put a copy of the completed clothes in the Make Human directory. And Make Human by default, files are stored in the documents. The program itself is stored on C drive under Make Human directory, but in your documents folder is where it stores all your clothes that you make and all your models that you make and stuff like that. In my case, it had a trouble switching over to that directory. And I forget what I did to fix it. I just made it do it again, or moved the directory or something. I don't remember. Anyway, but if you get this error, don't worry about it. Just click OK. And you say, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to show you what that means. You just created some really cool clothes. So what we're going to do is in part 3, we're going to go over to Make Human, and we're going to clothe our character with those clothes. And you will be amazed at how awesome and easily that works. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on making clothes in using the Blender tools, make clothes for Make Human and Blender. And I'll catch you in the next tutorial.